My mother is the reason that I'm a Christian. I mean, she tells a story, told me a story when she was, when I was little. She told me a story about, she wasn't raised going to church. She wasn't raised reading the Bible or anything like that. But she had a good mom and dad that loved her and took good care of her. And one day in school, I think she was in the 2nd grade at a little school called Circleback. I've still got the picture around here somewhere of that class picture. And a lady named Slaughter, Mrs. Slaughter, saw my mother crying about something, and so she knelt down beside her and said, "Now, Joe," I think she probably called her by her given name, Lena Joe, and said, "Listen, Jesus will always be your best friend. He will always listen to you." And she said, "Rex, that's when I began to pray. That's when I began to believe in Jesus," and that's the truth. I mean, as long as I knew her, she was a prayerful woman and faithful, loved Jesus, loved people. And if you ever met her, you know that's true. But like I said in what I wrote, and she would have said this to me had she been sitting here, enough of this Mother's Day stuff, enough talking about me, let's talk about Jesus. Because what she cared about most was him. Jesus was her Savior. Yes, he was her Lord. But for her, he was her best friend. And she wanted me to have that kind of relationship. And she wanted anybody that she ever got a chance to love on to think about Jesus that way. So let's do that. Thank God for our mothers. And or thank God for the women that treated you like a mama. Ask God to bless the ones of you who are mothers, that you'll be the kind of mother that God wants you to be. All of those good wishes, good prayers, blessings on all mamas and all those who are going to be mamas. But let's focus on Jesus. You got your Bible? Go to John chapter 9. John chapter 9. Now, because we gave some time for folks to get settled, talking about mamas, I'm not going to make you walk back through from the 1st of John, but I don't want you to forget that as we've read these words, as we've watched Jesus deal with these people, the intent of all this is for us to discover where we are as far as it compares to Jesus. Are we the eager students wanting to know more about Jesus? Are we the confident and very convicted religious people that are wanting to know more about Jesus? Are we the broken and bruised woman that nobody wanted to be around, that needed living water? Are we the lame fella? Are we the hungry people? Are we the condemned and guilty woman that Jesus doesn't condemn? Who are you? Well, same question today. Look in John chapter 9. Read the first few verses there. As they went along, they found a man that was blind. Now stop a second. Stop. You read it so you know I'm not making it up. How do the disciples react? They see a blind man. What's their question? How do they react? You tell me.
Who sinned? Him or his parents?
Who sinned? Him or his parents that caused him to be blind? Now, hang on a second. What does that sound like to you?
Us.
All right, when you say us, what do you mean?
Me.
What does it sound like?
Somebody did something wrong.
It's it sounds like a bunch of churchgoers trying to discuss the theology of stuff and and miss the fellow that's sitting. And you know how I know that? I'll be real honest. You know how I know that? I spent a lifetime doing it. I spent a lifetime of sitting in preachers' meetings or elders' meetings or church meetings or auditorium Bible classes where we talk so much about, well, why do you think this and why do you think that? And it doesn't, listen, it's not just out there in here. We've had our good share of, well, why does this happen and why does that happen, right? What are they missing? You tell me, what are they missing? In the discussion of trying to figure out who's to blame for his blindness, what are they missing?
They're missing the blind man and how he's feeling.
Yes, they're missing the blind fella. I don't know. Does it matter? If it was his sin that caused the blindness, his parents that caused the blindness, or just a freak accident that caused the blindness, does it matter? No, he's blind. I love Jesus. I love Jesus. He turns to them and tells them the truth, like he always does, and he says, neither this man nor his parents sinned. So why do these kind of things happen? Now, this may be the most theology you ever get out of me, because I don't understand much. But Jesus' answer here may give us some insight into the ways of God that we might not necessarily be able to understand all the time. Tell me, what was Jesus' answer? What did Jesus say? Why did this happen to this man?
So the work of God might be displayed in his life.
So that God, the work of God, the glory of God could be displayed, could be demonstrated in this man's life. Is it possible? No hard, fast conclusion, but is it possible? Is it possible that there are things that take place in the world that we can't explain, that we worry about, we fret and fuss about the answer, and the reason those things took place is to allow God to demonstrate his power, his love, his glory, his work? It's possible, isn't it? And he looks at them and says, man, we must work while it's day, because night's coming and nobody's going to work. And as long as I'm in the world, what does he say? Look at verse 5. While I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. Now stop a second. Jesus walked by the blind fella. His disciples got all religious on him. He tells them, listen, I need you to understand what's taking place here. I'm the light of the world. And then to prove it, to back it up, to confirm it, what does he do? Now, don't tell me he healed the blind man. Don't tell me that. Tell me what he did. Tell me what he did.
He proved it by showing God's mercy and his
but tell me what he did. Look at verse 6. Tell me what he did. Now, we don't want to say this in church, I understand, but this place,
It's spit on the ground, makes some mud.
Yes. He got on the ground and he spit. Now, the picture of Jesus is not that he spit from afar and just miraculously made spit. It says he spit on the ground and made some mud with the slava and put it on the man's eyes. Now, again, how does that work? What's happening? The disciples are walking around asking all these religious questions. Where's Jesus?
Spitting on the ground.
Jesus is squatted down on the ground. He's spitting in the dirt, mixing it up. Folks, this takes a minute or two. This is not magic mud. This is not miraculous mud. This is human body going to make us some spit and some mud. And I got to see this from the blind fellow's eyes for a second. Does he know what's going on? Did he hear Jesus spit?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Does he know what Jesus is doing? No. And then all of a sudden, after the spit and the mud, and he smears it on the guy's eyes, your reaction, you're the blind guy. you're the blind guy, and somebody just spit next to you and smeared that mud on your face. You're the blind guy. What do? Now, you can't, there's not much you can do. You can't hit the guy because you can't find him, but your reaction.
I'm not sure I'd like that too much.
Yeah, somebody somewhere.
It's going to help me.
Somebody somewhere is going, ooh, I don't like it. Jesus doesn't give him much of a chance to react. He said, hey, you get up and you go and clean yourself up. Go to the pool of Siloam, now, which means sent. That's what the text says. So he sent him to sent. He said, you go to go. You sent to sent and wash your face. Now look at the next phrase. So the man went and washed and came home singing. Now it's black and white and it really happened. But if you were there, tell me what it was like. How does he get to the pool? He's blind. How does he get to the pool? We don't think about it. We think, okay, he just pops over to the pool. He has to do what all blind people have to do. He either had to feel his way there or find somebody that can help him to get there, right? And I don't know if it was right there or if he had a pretty good hike to make, but he got to the pool. He did what Jesus asked him to do. Could he have said, my feelings are hurt because you smeared mud on my face. You spit on me. Could he have been upset? Could he have been entitled and say, listen, I'm blind. Could you go get me some? There's all kinds of reactions. And I've heard some of them. And I've said more than a few of them. But Jesus says, get up, go wash your face. So the old boy gets up, however he gets there, he gets to the pool, and he begins to wash it. Now hang on. Has he ever seen his hand before? Has he ever seen his reflection in the water before? So for him to wash in the pool, what's he got to do? Now, I need you to see it, and I can't help it, folks. When I read it, this guy is at the pool, and I see him. What's he doing? Tell me what it was like. Where is he? He's dabbling his hands in the water and split. What's he doing?
I think he's on probably his hands and knees.
He's on his hands and knees, and he's got his face close to the water, and he's splashing water up on his face, right? He's getting the mud, the spit mud off of his face, right? What's the first thing he sees? First thing he sees?
Probably a drop of water on his eyelash.
Maybe a drop of water on his eyelash. What does he see? He sees a hand. I think maybe he sees a hand coming up toward him. Does he recognize his own hand? I don't know if he jumped, if he flinched. He doesn't know what is that, and he washed that off and he goes home singing. Now just stop right there. Just stop right there. There's enough lesson right there. Tell me, what did I just learn? Tell me what the disciples, those folks who were so serious about the religious stuff, the ones that wanted to know why he's blind, what did they just learn? What did they just learn? Jesus is the light of the world. He said he was. He said he was the light of the world, and now he's proved it. This old boy would testify to that, wouldn't he? Proved it. So does it matter why he was blind? Does it matter if it was his sin or his mama's sin or somebody else's sin? No. No, because Jesus is the light of the world. Now time out a second. Catch your breath and tell me, do we learn anything about ourselves from that? Do we learn anything about ourselves? When I look at the mess that is in my life sometimes it's my fault. Sometimes it's the fault of somebody else. And sometimes it's just because that's the way things go in the world. Does it matter whose fault it is? Is it important that I am able to fix the blame? I had an old man tell me one time, he said, affixing the blame does not affix the problem. Right? Yeah. And I spent way too much time in church. I spent way too much time in church. I spent way too much time in school trying to figure out who's the problem when I really need to know who the solution is. Who's the solution? This morning, getting ready and thinking and praying, and it's happened especially during these lessons with John. I kind of know who to expect on Facebook. I know kind of who to expect. Maybe he'll show up here. But I'm always wondering about the person who's out there that I don't know, and that I don't know is on Facebook, and I might not know them when they walk in here. Anybody listening today? Do you think anybody's listening today that's blind? And I'm not just talking about blind this way. Bible will teach us that God is light and in Him is no darkness. So if you're away from God, where are you? You're in darkness. If you're in darkness, that means you are blind. You think anybody today is listening? Anybody today is listening? Anybody in here visiting with us that's away from God and is blind? And they've sat in church, all they can stand to sit in church and listen to preachers, priests, rabbis, pastors pontificate about why does this happen and why are these things true? And they exegesis the passage so much that Jesus exits. I mean, they just get so tied up in that. You think those folks are sitting maybe today listening and thinking, what about me? Here's what about me. I've messed up. Other folks have messed up. The world's messed up. Got it. I don't have to know why. I just need to know Jesus. The who. Jesus is the light of the world. This man came home seeing. Now hang on. Tell me, what's he doing? You've been blind all your life. You've never seen a green leaf. You've never seen a blue flower. You've never seen a flying bird. You've never seen a squawking bird. You've never seen your mother's face. You've never seen your daddy's hands. You've never seen anything. And you splash, this guy smears this spit mud on your face, and then you wash your face off, jump a little bit when you see your hands coming toward your face, you clean up, and you look around. What's it like? The walk home. He said he went home, and he came home seeing. So he had to walk, right? So what's it like? How's he acting? It's going to be a long day.
He's walking pretty slow and maybe even a little bit uncertain on his footing because he's seeing things that, wow, I've never seen it. I would think it would be a long walk. A good walk.
It could be he's uncertain because all of a sudden how long does it take him to get used to his depth perception, right? But what's he doing the whole way home? Even if he's walking slow, what's he doing? Isn't he looking around? Isn't he paying attention to things? He's looking at, is the sun coming up? Are there clouds? Is there a bird flying by? Is there a little kid playing? I mean, looking at his own hands. And he's looking at his feet while he's walking. He sees, he came home seeing. So stop. We've got more to read, but stop. There's the lesson. If you are in darkness, if you're away from God, there'll be people that'll blame you. And there'll be people that blame other folks. And sometimes maybe you'll do the same. Blame yourself for other folks. Would you not let the glory of God, the power of God, the mercy of God, the work of God be displayed in your life, and let Jesus be for you what He was for them, what I want Him to be for me, the light of the world? Old boy washed his face and went home singing. Now keep reading. Keep reading. His neighbors and those folks that had formerly seen him begging, what's their reaction? What are they thinking?
Can't be him.
That can't be him. Right? Look, it says, no, that can't be. Isn't that the man that used to sit and beg? Some claimed that it was. Yeah, that's him. That's him. Others said, no, it only looks like him. Does that sound, folks, that's a church house discussion, right? Isn't that, I think I saw, no, you didn't see that. That couldn't be him. I think that's it. You know, and they're having that, and it's just a normal conversation. And that had been all plastered all over Facebook back nowadays. But I love his answer. When they said, no, it only looks like him, what does he do?
I am the man.
No, it's me. Now, that's not the way he'd say it. My English teacher would turn over in her grave. But I am the man. I'm that guy. It's me, fellas. I was the one that was there begging. And by the way, you walked by lots of time. I can remember your footstep. And, he said, I am the man. The first question they've got to ask. The first question. Now, the first thing that ought to be done. Okay, now this is just my own heart saying this. A fella that you've known all of his life couldn't see. You're not for sure it's really him, and he finally says, no, it's really me. Your first reaction is, and I'd like to know what your first reaction would be. I know what mine would be. And no criticism, but just I want to know what your reaction would be.
I would be twofold. Number one, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. How did this happen? I mean,
what would your first reaction be? Your first reaction.
Want to know what happened?
What happened? What would your first reaction be? Darla and I kind of have the same. First thing I'd do is just say, fantastic, man. How many figures I got up? I mean, I would just be thrilled to death for this old boy. I mean, he's been blind all of his life and now he can see. Does it matter how? Does it matter how? Somebody answer the question. Does it matter how? Can he see? Yes. And just as little as it matters why he was blind, why he can see, doesn't matter. But you got to know, right? You can see that is fantastic. That's terrific. That is do the dance of joy. But how did this happen? And that's what they want to know. Said how then were your eyes opened? How did that happen? Now just listen to him. I probably ought to apologize for this reaction, but some of us, I love you, but some of us, you know what we'd do? Well, if you could come to church with me on Sunday at 9 o'clock, or if you can get on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, you know, then somebody can explain it to you. I understand. No fuss about that. No fuss about that. What does this guy do? Look at his answer. Look at his answer. The man they call Jesus made some mud, put it on my eyes, and told me to go to the scent place and wash. So I went and washed, and I could see. Folks, how hard is that? How complicated?
And saying it or doing it?
Saying it. That answer, how difficult is that? Now, this long day, if y'all don't answer, yeah, it's easy because it's just what happened. I had this, and I'm not saying premonitions or prophecy. I'm just saying I've lived long enough to know there's somebody today that you know, somebody today, hearing these words, who is so tired of church or is so afraid of religion because of the way they've been treated or the embarrassment of their own mess, their blindness, and they're holding back. And all of a sudden they're hearing that Jesus is not worried about the why. It's not the why, he's the who. And so he wants to give them, he's the light of the world. He wants to give them light. He wants to bring them into the light. He wants to let them see. And yeah, there'll be people that'll want to know how that happened. And is that really the him? And I don't know if that's him or not. You know, there'll be those kind of folks, not Jesus. But somebody today, or this week, somebody is going to bump into one of us in some way, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever those things are, and say, man, how'd you clean up the mess in your life? How'd you get to where you are? How'd you get through the mess? How did you get to here where you could see? How'd you get to know Jesus? What's the simplest answer? What's the simplest answer? I love you, but this, and if we weren't on Facebook, I'd be throwing things at you to get you to answer me. I may do that anyway. This is supposed to be real, so. What's the simplest answer?
Jesus.
Yes, and you can't go wrong in this place hollering Jesus, right? Just say Jesus and I'm going to give you credit. But that's it. Tell them what Jesus did for you. Right? Now, is that everything they need to know? No. Are there some things that you want them to check in the black and white or red and white Word of God? Yes. But if they ask you, your answer is, well, let's check on that a few weeks later. When can we have a meeting? And no. What do? Say it out loud so I can hear you say it. What do you tell them?
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. What Jesus did for you. Tell them what Jesus did for you. Because look what's going to happen when you do that. I believe this will happen. Well, I've seen it happen. So there's no great theology to this, and there's no great prophetic utterance here. I'm just telling you. I've watched it happen. If we become a people, if I become a person, if we become a people that just talks about what Jesus does for us, when folks want to know, well, how'd you get your life straightened up, Michael? Dora, what happened to you? How'd you get out? Chad, how'd things turn around for you? Leland, tell me, explain to me, if they ask you those things and you can tell them what Jesus did, what happens?
They want to know more.
Look at verse 12. Look at verse 12. They want to know more. Where is he? I want me some of that. Don't you? Don't you? Now, I'm not going to make you do it, but I'm going to reinforce what we've been learning every week, over and over and over again. And I don't get tired of reminding you, because it helps me. Are you a disciple? Are you a student of the Word? Do you love Jesus and want to follow Him? Jesus will say to you, come on. He won't shove you away. No. Are you a religious person when you know lots of scriptures and you got lots of the answers? And you could probably have handled that theological discussion when you first saw that blind man. But somewhere in you, you know you need something more, like to be born again. Jesus would say, come on. Come on. I've got what you need. I'll give you a new life. Are you messed up? Have you made all kinds of bad choices and messed up your life and your family? Have you done that? And you're like that woman at that woman at the well, remember? Jesus says, I'll give you living water. He's got it for you. Come on. You can have it. He wants you to have it. Are you lame? Do you want to get well? Get up. Pick up your mat. He'll give it to you. He'll give you what you need. He'll give you that kind of strength. Are you hungry? We snack all the time, don't we? But we snack all the time on the junk of the world. We hungry for real bread, for true bread? Come on, I'm the bread of life, he says. You know where I am? That's chapter 6. Chapter 8, you ever been guilty? Ever been guilty and deserve to be condemned? You need somebody to stand beside you, speak up for you, and not condemn you? Jesus says, come on. Are you blind? Come on.